Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is a continuation of a very special little kind of mini series that I put together all around wedding stuff. So if you have not seen the first kind of 3 episodes, I feel weird calling them that because this is just like content I'm making, but the first 3 videos are very personal. So they talk about what I specifically wore for not only my wedding day, but just kind of all the events that I had surrounding my wedding, as well as what I wore for my honeymoon in both Puerto Escondido, so a beach kind of town setting, versus Mexico City, which is a lot more of a city vibe. So very personal videos, a lot of fun to make, but I also wanted to make videos that were a little bit more generic, that share some of the learnings that I've had over the past year plus of doing research for my wedding, because between you and me, I found it way harder than I thought it was going to be to find modern, minimal wedding stuff. I think the whole, which like there's nothing wrong with, I think the very stereotypical wedding look, which is like fairy princess and glitz and glamour, and like that's fantastic if that's how you want to look on your wedding day, but I wanted to look and feel like myself. I wanted to look timeless, but also classic, but also modern, which is a very difficult intersection to kind of meet at. And I don't know, I feel like I did that. And I also feel like I found quite a few brands that do offer that. So I wanted to just share some like high level advice on that. So I will have 3 more videos. This is the first one for that series, sharing that high level stuff. This one is going to be talking about the best like brands as well as the places that I looked to purchase minimal wedding dresses. And obviously this will completely differ depending on what kind of wedding you have. You might be having a really casual, chill beach wedding. I do have some dresses in here for something like that. Or you might be having like a full, you know, city glitz and glamour, very like high-end kind of situation. So I think I have a little bit of something for everyone here, but I do just want to call out that yes, I'm aware that not all of these are going to be appropriate for your specific type of wedding. If I could clone myself and have one-on-one conversations with all of you and chat about what your wedding is like and me give you recommendations, then I would totally do that, but sadly that is not possible. So this is the best I can do. So I'll be talking about wedding dresses in this video. The next video, which I will leave all of these linked in a like wedding playlist that I created, as well as below if you want to check these out. And you can honestly watch them in any order depending on kind of what subject matter you're the most interested in. And the next video will be about minimal wedding accessories and where to buy those things, as well as brands that I really like. So for example, where to buy the right shoes or wedding purse or jewelry. So that will be that video. And then the final video will be about wedding guest dresses, as well as kind of bridesmaids dresses that I think are beautiful and modern and minimal, and where I would look to purchase those or certain brands that I would look to buy from. So yeah, hopefully this will help for even if you're just attending a wedding this season or a black tie gala or just any event where you need to look and feel your best. Hopefully these videos will be helpful. So let's jump right in. So I've never been a big like wedding kind of person. I was never that little girl that like dreamed about what their wedding would be like one day. And so when it came to planning for my own wedding, I wasn't like, oh my God, like I know exactly how this process works. I don't know. Does anyone know how the process works from the get-go? But I knew that, you know, there are bridal stores. There are bridal stores that are like specific to certain brands. They just carry, you know, one of that brand. And then there are also bridal stores, which is, I feel like is more of the norm, which carry just like tons of different brands of different designers. So I started doing some research on, I had no idea really anything about wedding dress brands and like what was out there and all the different styles and fabrics and all of that stuff. So I started just researching on Pinterest, like I feel like everybody does. And I started finding a couple of brands that I thought were really interesting and kind of had that like modern but classic but also unique kind of vibe to them. And I think you'll get a picture of what I mean by that when I start showing you examples of the ones that I really liked. So what I did was I found a couple of wedding dress brands that I felt really aligned to, and then I actually looked for stores in New York City that carried those brands, and that's how I found the wedding store to shop at. So that is the first kind of channel that I'm going to talk about in terms of purchasing a wedding dress, because I also want to call out that there's a lot of different ways you can buy a wedding dress. You can go to a store, you can go kind of directly to an e-commerce site like an Essence or an Net-a-Porter or a Moda Operandi, which I will talk about all of those. I actually think those are freaking fantastic options and probably one of my favorite options for bridal dresses. And then as well as just kind of your standard brands and actually designer brands as well. So yeah, I'll get into all of that. But in general, purchasing from a traditional bridal store is just one of many ways to get a wedding dress. And so I found two brands that, or one brand really, that drove me to this particular bridal store in Brooklyn. I'm not actually going to say who it is because I didn't have the most incredible experience with them. They didn't even offer me like water or anything, let alone champagne or anything when I went by myself for the first time because it's a lot of pressure and I just felt so unfamiliar with the territory that I just felt more comfortable going by myself. You might be totally different. It might feel more comfortable with friends or family in the first go around for support, but I really wanted to kind of take in the landscape by myself the first time before involving everyone else. So that way I was very clear on what I wanted and other people's opinions kind of wouldn't be seeped into that. So the brand that drove me to this particular salon, but they sell at many, many bridal shops, is, I'm probably going to butcher how you say it, but they are an Australian brand called Medikevsky. And I think these dresses that he does are so architectural and beautiful, but very different. They're definitely more on the avant-garde side of the spectrum, I will say, when it comes to wedding dresses. They're more kind of in the Vivienne Westwood, Rick Owens territory of things, but that's what I was really drawn to, and I was very excited to try these dresses on. And then when I was actually at the store, I discovered another brand that I felt like my style aligned with really, really well. And this is a Spanish brand. I believe they're based out of Barcelona and they're called Cortana. And I adored their stuff. So I'm going to talk about those two specific brands. And honestly, these brands both have non-bridal stuff as well, but I was very drawn to their bridal items. And to get a lot of the bridal items, especially for Cortana, you do have to purchase them through a bridal boutique. The Medikevsky, you can get a lot through Net-a-Porter or Moda Operandi, but they also sell through bridal boutiques. So I do just want to call that out. So I want to talk very quickly about those two brands because those are really the more kind of, if you're going to go the traditional route in terms of like traditional purchasing route, then these were the two brands that I loved, 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 loved. So let's start with Cortana. So with Cortana, I loved quite a few things about this brand, but in general, I loved the organicness of the brand. And what I mean by that is the fabrics, like the tools and whatnot, were very beautiful and asymmetric and layered and like unfinished at the ends, which if you watch my wedding video, my custom dress ended up having a lot of these kind of pieces to it because I was inspired, originally by this one brand. And they also use a lot of like muslin and more like untraditional fabrics to give sort of a nice juxtaposition between some of these more traditional bridal materials like a tulle and then, putting like a rough textured muslin against it. It's just like a fun contrast. And then another thing that I really, really loved about Cortana that I thought was interesting and very unique is that they have a lot of separates, which sounds a little scary at first. You're like, I don't want to get a skirt and a top because then it won't look like a wedding dress. But I promise you, it doesn't even look like it's not a dress. You just try on different tops and bottoms and they have different overlays. So that way I felt like it really gave me the ability to almost like custom piece together a dress, which was really nice. And so I really appreciated that about the brand. And they also have amazing kind of like bridal accessories. So the veils were beautiful. They had this mohair coat, which was to die for. Unfortunately, I got married in really, really, really hot heat by the beach. But if I was having like a chic winter wedding somewhere, oh my God, this coat is absolute perfection. So they have really beautiful kind of like adjacent bridal pieces as well, which was nice. But I'm going to just share a few of my favorite dresses from Cortana. I went through the website recently and picked it out. So hopefully by the time you see this video, they still have some of these. But I have noticed, you know, like most fashion sites, they, you know, bring out new styles every season. So even the dress that I tried on and that I really loved, I will try to insert a photo here. Originally, it's not on their site anymore, and I don't think you can get it anymore. So the first dress that we are going to see is called the Kiss dress. And here I think you can get a really good picture of what I mean by like the gorgeous tulle and the layers and the asymmetry. Like I love that it's very romantic, but that it's not too feminine, if that makes sense. I love that the rest of it is quite simple, but that it was very elegant. The dresses I tried on were so comfortable as well. I didn't feel like I was like stuffed into something or that I couldn't be comfortable sitting down or dancing. Not that we had dancing at my wedding, but in general, I just felt like these are very wearable dresses. Obviously delicate because of the tulle when there is tulle and stuff, but in general, just like very, very beautiful. Also from a price point perspective, they don't say the exact prices of each dress on here, but I will tell you that my dress was going to be about $5,000. So I would say the $4,000 to $6,000 range is what these dresses are going to fall into. This is another great example, very minimal, but not like too tight on the body, but you have this gorgeous kind of asymmetry and draping of the straps and this gorgeous kind of like ruffled fabric. This is something that was really going through my head the whole time when I was thinking of my wedding, was this like urban primitivism, this beautiful organicness. I just kept going back to this sort of theme of crumpled paper, which sounds nuts, but like that's kind of the vision and the visualization that really led me through all of this. And I feel like this dress is such a perfect example of it. I'll show you other ones as well that fall into this category, but it's very architectural. It's almost like it's being sculpted on her body, but it's still a classic. Like I think the off the shoulder and coming in at the waist and having a little bit of an A-line, almost not quite mermaid bottom, but it's a very classic shape with a very unconventional details. And that's kind of what I love out of this brand. This dress would be so beautiful for, again, a really uptown kind of city wedding. This is called the Onna dress, and it's like a kimono. It is, or maybe the Una dress, if it's kind of Japanese inspired, which it looks like it is. And I love the draping on this. In fact, Rick Owens also has a very similar dress to this that I will leave linked below. So maybe they were inspired by Rick Owens when they put this dress together, but I loved the beautiful kind of gold ivory sheen of this. And the other thing that I love about their dresses is you'll notice too, like I wanted more like of a modest coverage and modest fit. So for example, in the one before last, like the sleeves came down to here, which was really beautiful. Here you have full coverage. Like this would be a really great winter dress. So I loved that they had more options because that was something that I was like, I do not want a strapless dress just because of the proportions of my body. I did not think it vibed very well and didn't look very good on me. So I loved the fact that they had dresses in different silhouettes where if you're less comfortable with like showing your arms or if you have like a winter wedding, they just have a little bit of something like covering all the different parts of your body. And I really, really appreciated that. Again, this one also has a really beautiful coverage. This is the Lirio dress, and it is, again, a silk dress, but not tight. And I just adore the way that this flows. This is so goddess-like, and oh, I just love, like the front, I guess, has and that's actually another thing I love about this dress too. I'm reading the description and it says it has 3 layers of fabric, a wide V-shaped neckline at the back, and 2 very long stoles attached to the neckline to be worn in different ways. Although this dress has a plunging neckline, it can also be worn backwards with the neckline facing the front. And that is the other thing that I adore about Cortana, is there's so much versatility. Like the fact you can just flip this whole dress around and have that beautiful deep V in the back. And I completely agree. I actually prefer it like that. I would want the high in the front with, you know, the kind of cape and then the lower V in the back. But if you're more self-conscious of your back and you wanted to have more sexy in the front and more coverage on the arms, then you could do that. And this was true of a lot of the dresses. Even the dress that I really loved and almost ended up with, it had these kind of tulle things that were like falling off of it, and you could like wrap them around you in various different ways to kind of change the silhouette of the dress. So again, I love that the clothes are so versatile and that you got a lot of different options depending on what you were looking for. And then given this is a Spanish brand, especially based out of Barcelona, I loved the name of this dress. This is the Gaudi dress, which I'm assuming is a kind of homage to the famous Spanish architect. But again, the gorgeous, you can't quite see it in the photo, but when you really zoom in on the fabric on this, it's a lace, which sometimes can read as quite traditional, but I love that it's like a spider web lace. Like again, very untraditional in that regard, but just so dainty, so ethereal. Like I feel like this is like a brand that elves would wear without looking costumey, if that makes any sense. But I love the asymmetry. I love the one shoulder. I love that they've wrapped it around the body in various ways. It's just, oh, they're all so dreamy. And I feel like I got that like romanticism and excitement that I kind of was hoping for when I tried on a wedding dress, when I wore their dresses, because of the fact that they did have the tulle and the draping and like romantic features like that without having to go full ballroom or sparkle or anything like that, which I definitely like was not interested in. And then the final look is what I talked about, the kind of concept of a two-piece. So here again, you have a gorgeous turtleneck, like full coverage top, and then this gorgeous skirt. I love this skirt, but when you just look at it, you actually wouldn't ever be able to tell that this is not a dress. I think it's so beautiful together. Again, the fabric on the shirt is so unique and interesting, and yet combined against that gorgeous kind of crumpled paper material again of the skirt. I just think this is like, again, a very old-fashioned silhouette, like a turtleneck with almost like a bustle on the back, but then it looks so modern and like, yeah, it's really beautiful. So if you're looking for just really stunning, modern, gorgeous wedding dress brands, Cortana was my personal favorite. But now let's get into the next brand, which I probably should have looked up how to say this, but again, I'm just going to keep saying Medakevsky. And actually, after I discovered this brand, Taylor Swift ended up wearing one of his gowns in one of her music videos. I can't remember. I think the one with Post Malone. So it got even more popular. But yeah, let me tell you about that brand a little bit. So this brand was founded, I will just be referring to it as this brand moving forward for pronunciation reasons, but this brand was founded in 1999 by the Australian designer Tony Medakevsky, which I'm assuming is a man actually, but I should double check. Okay, good. Is a man. You never know with the name Tony. I've had friends, boy and girl, named Tony, so just thought I would check. But basically it's a brand where they're known for these like beautiful sculptural silhouettes and these dramatic drapings, and they say couture level craftsmanship. I will get into that in a second, because that was actually one thing I had kind of an issue with the brand on, but more so their fabric choices. But in general, very architectural, very beautiful, modern elegance. Totally understand they're going to be more on the architectural side of things, as opposed to the last brand, Cortana, was more, I would say, on the romantic side of things, although they definitely were still architectural. So that's what really drew me to them. And the good thing about this brand as well is that they actually do share the prices. So I'm going to share all of my favorites, and I'll tell you the price too, versus the other, I had to kind of give you a range. But the first dress is this gorgeous kind of tulle crepe gown, and I love the high neck. This is actually the only kind of strapless dress. Again, I'm biased. I'm trying to give you guys generic stuff, but I also was like thinking about my body type too here. I love the high neck. This would have worked well for someone like me because I have a really long neck and a really long chest area. So I think the drama of having this there would actually look really good on me. However, if you're more kind of petite in that area, this is probably not the vibe, but I also love the kind of jut of the tulle. So I think I am very much a tulle person, but not, you know, a lace or a glitter type person, but I do love the gorgeous shapes of this dress. I love the kind of asymmetry in the skirt and that you could still see a little bit of leg. This would have been a very comfortable dress for like a warmer climate, because you do get a little bit of air and a little bit of leg and stuff in it. And this dress is $3,795. It's made in Australia, and I just want to go ahead and call this out because you guys know how I feel about natural fibers. Most of these, if not all, if it's not, I'll call it out. But the issue that I had with his dresses is that they were all polyester, 100% polyester. And the dress that I tried on at the bridal salon, I don't think any of these are that one. I don't think they make it anymore, but it was like a $5,000 dress. And I'm like, a $5,000 dress that is 100% polyester. And I know that not all polyester is the same. And I know that he probably uses that for the stiffness, but I'm like, I just have a hard time wrapping my brain around spending that much money on a polyester dress. So that is just, I love the design of his stuff. I love actually how it photographs more so than even how it looked or felt when I was wearing it. I think I would show people photographs and they were like, those dresses are amazing. I'm like, but in person, I actually felt much better in the Cortana dresses, even though some of them didn't photograph as well. So that's a whole nother thing, but I do just want to call out the polyester situation with his gowns because that was the only issue that I really had with this brand. The next one is called the Victoire gown, and this one again reminds me of a really beautiful kind of Rick Owens situation. I love that it's a high neck and I love that it covers the top of the arms. I think it's a very flattering cut on the shoulders here. And again, I love that it has that dramatic kind of open slit on the leg. Another kind of signature of his that I don't actually like as well, sorry, there's one more thing I don't like about the brand. He uses a thick, chunky, like silver black-esque zipper in a lot of his stuff. That's like his signature. And when I was at the bridal salon, they said, actually, when you buy it here, you can swap it out for like a white one so that it's not as obvious. But I just felt like in general, it looked a little cheap and it wasn't really giving what I wanted it to give. And if you do order it off of a Net-a-Porter or a My Teresa or a Moda Operandi, you don't have that option to swap out for a lighter zipper, which is kind of unfortunate. So that other piece, like I get what he was trying to do. I know he was trying to go for probably like an industrial look to like juxtapose the white and the traditionalness of the gown, but I don't know, it just wasn't really doing it for me. This next one is again a classic shape with a little bit of a twist. We're noticing a theme. This is more of a midi dress and it is strapless, but again, it's got that gorgeous kind of dramatic front to it. This might be a bit casual for a wedding dress, depending on, again, what type of wedding you're having, the formality of your wedding. But if you're having a more casual wedding, I think this is absolutely stunning. And if you're, if you wanted to wear this for like, you know, a wedding shower or the rehearsal dinner, I think this is such a great option as well. So I did want to show this to you all. And this one is called the Requiem Strapless Crepe Gown. Again, 100% polyester, unfortunately. So this next one is very avant-garde. Again, probably not appropriate for the most formal of weddings, but I do think this is really beautiful as well for a rehearsal dinner. Crumpled paper to the extreme. I love the texture of this dress. I love that it's a little bit off the shoulder, but very high. Again, a beautiful kind of classic, almost 50s, 60s kind of silhouette. And this material is actually 64% cotton, 19% metal, and 17% polyester, and it's currently 30% off. It is $1,865. It was originally $2,600, and yeah, I just love, again, very Rick Owens kind of inspired. I love the crumpliness, and they say the color is Pearl Crush, so it's also not super, super white. So if you want something really white, I actually preferred a little bit of an ivory off-white because I felt like I am so pale that if I go stark white, you can see it's just like a little bit harsh. So I loved that kind of softer white with my skin tone and my hair and stuff personally. But I would just say try on a lot of different dresses and see what feels good. And then the final dress is another strapless dress. And again, not to be a broken wheel, but might be a little informal for a wedding, but I think would be so beautiful for a rehearsal dinner. This is the Suffolk off-shoulder crepe gown, and it was originally also $2,600, and it's on sale for 50% off currently for $1,306 on My Teresa. This one also is a little more understated. If the rest of this has been a bit too architectural, too avant-garde for you, then this is like, I feel like one of his more subtle designs where it's a very classic shape of having, you know, strapless and a midi length, which I feel like is very appropriate, very flattering. You don't have to worry about it being too short or anything, but it still shows off the ankle. It's very ladylike. But then it has a nice kind of just gentle asymmetry here on the chest, and then you have a little bit of a kind of kick mermaid pleat at the bottom just for like a little bit of visual interest. So if the other ones were like way outside of your comfort zone, this one's a little more pared back for sure. So the next type of place, as I mentioned, that you can buy bridal dresses for, again, I encourage y'all to think outside of the box, because the thing that really bothered me when I was in this bridal boutique is the bridal industry in general is like such a ripoff in so many ways. But with bridal boutiques, for example, they have to pay the designer, and then pay the designer for the inventory, and then you have to pay them. And so there's just a lot of middlemen, I feel like, in that industry. And I understand that obviously all e-commerce sites have overhead and costs and whatnot, but I just feel like with bridal in particular, it made no sense to me that some of these dresses would be $5, $6, $7,000 when you can go to Dior and buy a Dior designer gown for like $4,000. So it just didn't make a lot of sense to me why I wouldn't explore kind of the designer realm. And so that personally for me, again, because I wanted a more untraditional type wedding look, was my favorite place to look for wedding dresses. And so that is actually what I would really recommend to you all, especially if you want a more subtle kind of modern look. The other thing that I love about these places is that, first of all, if you're going to drop that much money, $4, $5, $6, $7,000, you get rewards from places like Net-a-Porter and Mytheresa and stuff. So you can get to their, gold platinum level like pretty quickly. And there's a lot of benefits and discounts and things that come with that. And in general, there are so many discounts on these sites, like with Net-a-Porter or Bergdorf's or whoever. They're always having sales. My own dress, the row dress that I wore for my civil ceremony, it was 50% off at the end of the season. So I got this gorgeous Rick Owens dress from Net-a-Porter that, again, I thought this might be the one that I'm going to wear for my wedding. It is just like, it is the dream dress. Not to skip ahead, because I will have a whole section of Rick Owens dresses. I'll go into the specific brands that I love, but this is the Aphrodite Cape Effect Cotton Blend gown, and this was a $4,500 dress, and I got it for $1,800. And again, it's the most gorgeous kind of crumpled paper, but very classic, beautiful silhouette. I am gonna wear this. I am gonna wear this for something, but it was just one of those pieces where I was like, I have to have this in my collection, even if I don't end up wearing it to my wedding, which I know sounds crazy, but in general, you could get some really incredible deals on these sites. The other thing that I love is that I'm, for example, very familiar with Net-a-Porter's return service, customer service, and you can, try a lot of things on in the comfort of your home, which, I mean, if you're watching this, you probably like to online shop a lot too, but trying on wedding dresses can be really intimidating. So I actually had a better time, trying different things on, maybe having a couple friends over and then just hanging out in my living room, and then we could just like play around and try stuff on. It just wasn't so high pressure, and I really appreciated that as well. So I just kind of wanted to call out all of those positives of ordering from somewhere. The only, obvious downside is financially you are kind of upfronting the cost. So for example, if you wanted to try on 3 different gowns from Rick Owens and they're $3,000 a piece, you might be putting $9,000 on your credit card to Net-a-Porter. And thankfully they're very fast with returns and stuff, but it can be a little unnerving if you're like trying these dresses on and like, you're like, okay, safely put it back in the box and like return, and like, oh my God, what if I don't get the return money? Like, so I get it. Like that part of it is a little unnerving as well. But for me, the pros just kind of outweighed the negatives, but it's totally up to you all. I did just want to call that out. So it was really, I would say, 3 places that I looked at the most. And I'm not gonna lie, they all had like pretty similar inventory, but I will say I think Net-a-Porter actually has the best inventory when it comes to bridal dresses. I think Mytheresa is probably the second best, and then Moda Operandi, I would say, is the third. The only issue I had with like a Mytheresa is because they sort of bring together, they're Berlin based, so you're gonna have to deal with like, or Munich based, they're in Germany. So like you gotta deal with like DHL and like shipping and that stuff, versus Net-a-Porter, they have their warehouses in New Jersey, which are very close to New York. So I can get things shipped like next day, returns are like returned within a couple of days. So I think that's also the other reason why I really like shopping at Net-a-Porter, in addition to the fact I feel like they have the biggest sales. So Net-a-Porter by far is my favorite. I'm gonna share like a few of the like more random, I call them random because if I didn't have more of one brand to share with you, then I would just kind of put it into the clump of dresses that I would order from Net-a-Porter, Moda Operandi, or My Teresa. And then I'm going to go deeper into like actual brands that I recommend. So for example, I have 6 dresses from The Row that I think are amazing. There are 4 dresses from Rick Owens. Some of them I just have a couple, but in general, like there were brands that I kept going to again and again and again because in general their brand was just aligning with the kind of look and feel that I wanted. But in general, let me just show you my favorites currently from Net-a-Porter. So this is an untraditional one, and again, caveat this just because like I don't want to get in the comments everyone being like, I would never wear that on my wedding day. Like, cool, everyone's different. Like there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't wear for my wedding that other people would be absolutely obsessed with. So, you know, take this all with a grain of salt. But the other thing is too, is that a lot of people have multiple wedding events. So even if it's not your actual wedding, maybe it's your wedding shower, maybe it's your rehearsal dinner. Again, I don't know how formal all of your weddings are. So I kind of wanted to have a nice wide range of things. So don't come at me in the comments, but I loved this dress from Kate. I know it's very unconventional, but I love Kate, and I love, this is called the Muriel Tweed Paneled Knit Maxi Dress. And I just think I love the sheerness. I love the little panel of the tweed. Again, tweed is like such a traditional fabric, but then applying it with the tulle and the kind of see-throughness I thought was very, and the silk was very modern and interesting. And I just thought this was such a beautiful dress. I also loved how it wasn't super close on the body so that it would be really comfortable. And it's $2,200 currently. This next dress is from a brand that I had never heard of before, and Net-a-Porter marked them as a new designer, so I think it's a new designer that they're working with. I thought the price point of this dress, again, everything's all relative, but considering we've been playing in the, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 range, this one is from a brand called Kallmeyer. I will leave everything again linked in the description box below, so pardon me butchering my pronunciations, but this is like a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous draping. Again, not too tight on the body, very Grecian, but not being like too on the nose about it. The back of the dress is perfection. I love that draping. I think it's so ethereal and beautiful, and it is 100% viscose. Maybe that explains the lower price point. But yeah, it's $1,250 and it's kind of like a creamy kind of off-white color. I just think this dress is really, really beautiful. It's called the Toma Draped Satin Gown. Oh, I mean, obviously I love all these dresses because I'm sharing them with you all, but like I really, really, really love this dress. I don't think this dress was out when I was originally looking for my civil ceremony dress, but this dress would have been also perfection for my civil ceremony. I really love this brand in general. This is from Rohe, R-O-H-E. And oh my God, again, it's 50% wool, 50% polyester. So there is some polyester in there. I want to call it out, but I love the like 2 separates of the piece. I love the deep kind of V in the back. I love that it looks vintage, but still modern. It's just like checking all of the boxes. And this dress is actually $955. So under $1,000, which I think is great. Oh, I think, oh, with like a little white pillbox hat. Oh, this dress is like so beautiful. Oh, it's so stunning. And then again, depending on your level of comfort, this brand called Taller Marmo is really, really great for if you want a little more coverage. So I was looking at this dress for a lot of kind of mother of the bride dresses, and they make these really gorgeous kind of caftani dresses, but this dress is absolutely stunning. It, you know, kind of covers the belly and stuff where you want a little bit more coverage, but then you have this beautiful long maxi skirt. And again, I think this is a relatively new dress because I would have totally ordered this for my mom to try on as a potential dress because I had all of my guests wear neutral colors. So if you're like, why would your mom wear a white dress? That's what was going on there. But in general, I think this would make such a gorgeous courthouse dress or like a winter wedding dress. I think it's really beautiful and I love all of the coverage of it. This is called the Madalena Draped Crepe Caddy Gown and it's $1,200. So definitely high price point, but relatively speaking, a good price point considering some of these dresses are a lot higher than that. Speaking of, even though this one is actually much less expensive, I think because it's viscose, Vivienne Westwood certainly has really like high end. I've seen a lot of her dresses for up to $10,000 on Net-a-Porter and Mytheresa and stuff. So you certainly can get them, but do not sleep on a Vivienne Westwood dress. She's the queen of this gorgeous organic draping that's kind of like punk rock, but still really gorgeous and feminine for the body. And this one is called the Panther Gathered Asymmetric Maxi Dress. It is a $1,350 originally, but it is 20% off right now, so roughly around $1,000. And I just love, I love her classic kind of corset V in the front, and then this beautiful open. It looks so beautiful with a little necklace. Everyone knows it's Vivienne Westwood when you look at it. Gotta love that. And then the final kind of like random brand, I would say, this is from a brand called Safiya, and this is the pleated caped crepe gown. Unfortunately, again, this is 92% polyester, 8% elastane, but again, the architecturalness of this, I love the little cape. I love that it comes in at the waist. I love the long kind of almost mermaidy skirt. This is so ladylike and so chic. For me, with my wedding stuff, like my constant theme, and you'll see this in all of the items that I'm suggesting, like, yes, some of them are way more out there than others. Some of them go a little more high fashion, a little more architectural, a little more avant-garde. But I never wanted to look back on my wedding stuff and be like, ugh, that I regret that. You know, I wanted something that would really stand on its own for a long time without being boring. And again, that's really hard to do. So I just adore this look. I think it is just so feminine and classy and flattering. I think it is so beautiful. So those were kind of my random picks. Now I want to jump into specific brands. Again, all of these links will be from, you know, 1 or 3 or 4. I think there are a few links here from Bergdorf Goodman's as well, but in general, you can actually purchase all of these dresses, if not most all of these dresses. So the first brand that I want to start with, where I have the most dresses to share with you all, is from The Row. I won't talk about the first item too much because I already talked about it a lot in my dedicated wedding video, but of course I had to tell you about the Row Stephos gown, this like wool silk gown, that I wore for my civil ceremony. I am biased, obviously, because I wore it, but again, people saw me when we were taking our photos in Central Park and they were like, that dress is incredible. And talk about timeless. Like, very unclear if this was like my mom's dress when she got married that I'm re-wearing, or if this is something modern and new. This is like the definition of timeless in my mind, and I absolutely adore it. And it's my personal favorite dress from The Row as well. They do have this other dress called the Eno silk crepe dress. If you want to not totally be covered up, I understand that look isn't what everyone's going for, but they make a nice sleeveless version. So you still have the beautiful silhouette where it's not super tight on the body, but you still feel really like sexy and beautiful, but that you do have a little bit of the arms showing. I think this is a really gorgeous dress. And again, it is on sale on Net-a-Porter right now, because normally this dress would be almost $4,600 and it's 40% off for $2,700, which is pretty great. If you wanted to go a little more bohemian, this one's like slightly more casual because it's a little bit shorter. It's not completely to the floor, but again, depending on the formality of your wedding, or if you wanted to wear this to the rehearsal dinner or something, this is the Row Esme satin maxi dress. And again, I love that it's casual, but still beautiful, but covered. I think this is really stunning. And this is 100% viscose. I personally would not wear this next one because, again, I like more of a full coverage look. But if you had a beach wedding, or you want to look really sexy and minimal, I think this little slip dress from The Row is also absolutely stunning. It's a very crisp white, and it has the most gentle little straps. It is $4,450. Of course, that's 100% silk. I mean, you can tell how stunning it is by just looking at it, but this is really beautiful. I will also say, from what I found from trying on a lot of these dresses, I did actually try on a couple of dresses from The Row. In fact, I actually tried on this next dress, and it's called the Bamaris one shoulder draped silk crepe maxi dress. And I loved this one as well. It was very bohemian. They actually have it in another color, in like a cotton that's like a tan, and I considered getting that one. But I felt like that one was actually a bit too see-through. To be honest, when I got this one, it wasn't like that much more heavy duty considering it was about $2,000 more expensive. But the thing that I want to call out is I accidentally ordered this one in a size small, and I really wish I would have gotten the extra small. So similar to like a COS, like getting my normal size, which usually probably would be like a small because I'm more like a 2 and not a 0. I was like, what is wrong with this dress? I've tried this dress on before and it looked totally different on me. Well, it's because I had the wrong size. And so I will say, if you are going for the row, maybe size down. If you're normally small, get the extra small, because it definitely has more of an oversized feel to it. And it was like too oversized for me. I definitely wish I would have gotten the extra small. And then the final dress from the row, honestly, is really, really similar to the Eno dress. However, I actually like this dress more. This one's called the Loic Silk Maxi Dress, and they still have it on Saks for $1,500. It's usually $5,200. And I love the kind of like minor pooling up the top, and I love that it goes out a little bit further on the shoulders than the Eno dress does. The Eno dress is just like a straight cut like this, versus this one kind of just comes out ever so slightly, and I think that's actually a little bit more flattering on the body. So this version I really like from the row, but in general, they're kind of like gorgeous silk plain column-esque dresses. They don't look like they're that exciting, but then when you put them on your body, you're just like, oh, they feel so good and you feel so pretty. They're just so magical. The row is so magical. This might end up being the longest video I've ever put together, so apologies in advance. But now you see why I've split out dresses and accessories, because if I did them together, this would be 2 hours long. Okay, so the next I want to talk about is Rick Owens. And I know that that might seem a little cray-cray at first, like I scared the SHIT out of my husband when I originally said, hey, I want to wear this Rick Owens dress for our wedding, because he immediately thought of like crazy Rick Owens, you know, the Rick Owens going down the runway kind of thing. But actually, Rick Owens has some of the most stunning wedding gowns that are, yes, architectural, yes, a little avant-garde, but I think also traditional and respectful at the same time. So I did want to share some of them with you. The first one is definitely more on the architectural side. So again, depending on your type of wedding, it is super cool. I love this like whole situation on top of here. I love the fact that it's a cotton blend with a little elastane and 3% rubber. And so it's Rick Owens, like very signature, kind of like looks like leather, but it's like kind of a plasticky. I just think this is so much fun. They call it the coated canvas gown, and it is white. And it's $1,600. The next dress is a little more pared down, a little more romantic. I think this would have been actually so beautiful for my wedding brunch or a wedding shower. I just think it's so cool, especially for like a hotter event, because it is off the shoulder and then you're ventilated here as well. This is called the Chalice Cutout Cotton Poplin Maxi Dress from Rick Owens, and it is $1,440. Ugh. I just think it's so beautiful, and it's 100% cotton. So see, with the designer brands, we're really starting to move into like better materials, like wool, cotton, silk, more interesting silhouettes. Like this is why I'm like, if I can buy a Rick Owens dress for 1/3 of the price of a traditional wedding dress, why would I not just wear a cool Rick Owens dress? Like, I don't know, that's my mentality. So I think this dress is just so, so cool. And then the next dress is called the Tommy Kite Gown, and it is $1,265. This is super, super similar to the Cortana, like kind of Una dress that I showed you. It's very kimono inspired and just very chic, very oversized. Again, if you want to kind of cover the arms, have a little more volume around the body, this would also be a great kind of mother of the bride dress, potentially, but I think that's a really, really cool option for either the wedding or wedding adjacent. And then again, just because I think it's the coolest, the Aphrodite Cape Effect Cotton Blend Gown. Oh, this dress is so cool. The only downside of this dress is that it's hard to walk in. which isn't surprising because when you look at it, it's this really stunning mermaid shape, beautiful kind of trumpet bottom. So you definitely were like, I was like, when I had to put it on. And I actually purchased it in a size 42 in the end. I bought a 38 and then a 40, and then I ended up landing on the 42. So that's the other thing. They say that I like an Italian 38 is the equivalent of a US 2, but I found the 38 to be far too tight. And I think I could have gotten away with the 40, but I actually wanted the 42 so that I could get it altered to like fit me really well. So do be aware of that, that I think the sizing was a little bit off on this dress. And I actually haven't tried other Rick Owens dresses as well. So if you're a big Rick Owens fan and you have some insight into the sizing, let the girlies know in the comments below, because I personally found the sizing was a bit off, but that could have just been specific to that dress and not the brand as a whole. The next brand is called Roksanda, and again, a gorgeous like civil ceremony, city classic. I love a one shoulder. I love that it's a little bit of a cape. I love that it comes in at the waist, but that it's got kind of a midi length to it. I love so many things about this dress. This is called the Bridal Mate 2 caped one shoulder gown. It is 60% acetate, 40% polyester, but I just think it's very elegant, very chic, very sophisticated. And so yeah, had to call this one out because it's so beautiful. And then kind of similar, but a little more coverage, this is the Bridal Demetria Cape Gown. It is $1,915 and it's 27% silk, 73% acetate. And again, I just love the big cape. This one, depending on your frame, could be a little bit overwhelming. It might be too much fabric if you're really petite. So the previous dress actually might be better for you, but I just want to call out this brand in general because I think that the capes and yeah, all of the draping is just really, really beautiful. This is a London-based brand and they've got a lot of this draping and these capes with a lot of their stuff. And they also have really beautiful dresses in other colors. They're not like a bridal brand or anything. So I will talk about them again in my bridesmaid/wedding guest video because they're definitely a beautiful brand with very classy dresses. The next brand is an Australian designer that a lot of the housewives have been fans on, but don't be scared off, and that is Alex Perry. So definitely a little bit more traditional, I would say, with like slight avant-garde. I love this crepe midi dress. It's $1,100, and for me personally, I think this would have been a little bit too form-fitting, but if you did want like a sexier rehearsal dinner dress, I think it's still classy and sophisticated looking. And I love that he has his kind of traditional little things that come up on the side, but it's not too much. And I also love that it's got this gorgeous corset. I will say they actually call this dress yellow. I don't know what it would look like in person, but it looks more like a tan to me. So again, not full-blown white, but I do think it's really pretty and it would be, again, another great civil ceremony dress or something. If you want a more like full-blown bridal dress, this Bridal Elizabeth gown is really stunning, but much higher price point. This one is $5,700 and it is 85% polyester and 15% silk, so I don't really love that, but I love the little shoulder pads. Maybe if you didn't like them, you could probably take them out. I love the giant kind of V in the back, and I love the sleeves. I love the beautiful skirt. I love just the simplicity of this all, where the focus is really on you and your body. And yeah, I thought this one was just a nice option. And then the final Alex Perry dress, again, has beautiful draping and that beautiful kind of signature corset with the pointed. This is the Bridal Draped Crepe Bustier gown. It is $2,850 and it's 80% acetate, 20% polyester. But I think the draping on this is really stunning. I think this would be flattering for a lot of different body types because the corset will help the strapless really stay up and feel supported. And then you have the beautiful kind of draping around the thigh area and the leg area and the stomach area so that none of it's accentuated, but not in a way that's like overly revealing or uncomfortable. This one's a little bit of a wild card, but I had to say something about Totem because I love them. My mother-in-law wore the most beautiful Totem dress, and so yeah, you guys know that I love Totem, but they have this really beautiful set that is, it doesn't come, you have to buy the dress separately, but it has this little it's not even a midi dress because it basically goes to your knees, but it's this kind of like silk tank dress that's $590. And then it has these beautiful cotton viscose elastane pants that go with it. And I just think this together is so cute. I would love to wear this to like a shower and the pants are $480. I think together, honestly, this would be, I still think I might have to get this because I love this combo with like the pants and the long tunic top. I think it's very chic and very modern, but depending on, you know, what events you have going on, I think it'd be really cool and modern for some wedding stuff as well. Obviously, you can wear it with more heels and a clutch bag to make it a little more dressed up, but I love this particular pairing. And then if you wanted even more traditional, they have this satin midi dress, which is really stunning. It's got the beautiful long sleeves, and then it's got the midi length to it. It is a viscose dress, and it's got really beautiful seams and what looks like maybe shoulder pads to it, and it's $820. So that's the other thing I love about Toteme too, is that it's a really beautiful, minimal brand that feels really great when you wear it, but the price point isn't like cray, you know? So on the flip side, this dress I almost wore, or for this brand, I almost wore something for my wedding, but it ended up being a little too city-esque, a little too uptown considering I was getting married at the beach. But I want to call it out because they have really gorgeous stuff. It is a brand called Heirloom, and there's a lot of their stuff on Modi Operandi. And like this, for example, this gorgeous silk gown, it's called the Margot Scoop Neck Silk Gown. It is $1,700, 100% silk. This beautiful kind of not stark white, gorgeous oystery color. So I love it because I know that, you know, you could wear this another time. Again, this would be such a stunning rehearsal dinner dress or something, but I just think it's like very minimal, but very elegant. It kind of reminds me of my camperette dress that I wore for my rehearsal dinner, which I will talk about that brand in a moment. But what I wanted to share was a little set that I was absolutely obsessed with. But again, I didn't end up wearing it because it was a little too dressed up for a beachy environment. But I think this would make such a gorgeous wedding outfit. It is the Morgan sleeveless top, which is $690. And it's just this beautiful silk kind of shell top. In fact, I think I have video of me actually trying this on. And then my favorite part was this stunning Mila draped silk maxi skirt that was $1,400. So together, like $3,000, definitely not low price in any way, but I just thought it was really, really stunning. I had never heard of this brand before. Apparently it's in LSD's closet, which I can completely see because it's absolutely stunning. I also love that you could just like leave the little draping part open, or that you could tie it and let it hang. There was a little bit of versatility there, which was nice. So I was very into that. The only problem with a Modi Operandi, actually, now that we're here, I will say, is that a lot of their stuff is pre-order. So for example, I pre-ordered this skirt and this top. And so I paid, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000 for this. And then I had to wait like 4 months before I got it. So that kind of sucks because you're putting a ton of money on the line. And then I ended up returning it, which is fine. But like I had 4 months of that money, sitting there, which isn't always the most fun. So I do want to call that out with the whole pre-order situation. And then the last of the kind of like really expensive dresses, and then I'll jump into the cheaper ones. Again, I'm sorry, this is gonna be such a long video, but I do think there's a lot of really great material here, is a brand called Camperette, which I did end up wearing for my wedding. This is an SF brand. I wore them for my rehearsal dinner. They had the most gorgeous dress called the Gallery dress, 100% silk bias cut. I felt so confident and so good in it. And normally I don't really feel good in like silky kind of dresses, but this one was really thick and just skimmed my body so perfectly. So their quality is fantastic. And the thing that really drew me to Camperette is originally Pinterest. So I did find them on Pinterest, but I love that they had these silk kind of slip bases. And then this tulle overlayer I thought was really, really stunning. So the two pieces that I loved that I want to call out were those kind of combinations. They have this violet tulle sheath, which is this like tulle overlayer that's long sleeves, and then you have the beautiful kind of A-line skirt, and that is $1,200. And then you can get the slip that goes underneath of it separately, and that is $1,000 roughly. and it comes in a couple different colors. You can get like a champagne or an ivory. Oh, they have it in black as well. That's cool. And yeah, I just think it's so, that pairing together is so stunning and so romantic, but still modern. So I really, really, really loved this particular brand. The other dress that I loved as well was the Thea sheath dress, which was $895. I love the little like kind of short sleeves and almost how it was like a little apron, how it just kind of sits over the longer dress, but I loved it with the long Lisette maxi slip dress, which was $1,200 with kind of the thicker straps, because I loved how the sheath covering was like a little bit shorter and then the long slip like goes lower. So I really, really, really loved this. So yeah, I'd highly recommend Camperette because although they're again still more expensive, the quality and they're really, really beautiful for that romantic kind of look. Oh, another dress that I loved from them was the bar dress. This was actually the dress that I saw on Pinterest. This one's really feminine, but I think it's really gorgeous and really cool. And again, they have this in a lot of colors. I think it'd be gorgeous in like black, or they have it in this really great green and like rust color. So again, I will talk about them in the wedding guest dress video because I think their stuff is really, really pretty as kind of a wedding guest dress too. Now, don't worry, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging by just giving you like $1,000 dresses. I do wanna call out some like less expensive options. Again, it's all relative. These are still expensive. These are more in the $300 to $500 range. I think the least expensive is maybe $100 plus. But again, if you're wanting nice materials, like sometimes that's just kind of what you have to go for. But one of the more mid-tier brands that I love is called Staud, and I need to do a whole kind of brand highlight on Staud because I really love their stuff. But my sisters wore dresses from Staud, but I think they have really beautiful things for brides as well. This Aria crepe maxi dress, which is $595. Love the high neck. It reminds me actually a lot of the Eno kind of row dress, except for that it's, you know, like what, a tenth of the price. And so this is a really, really fantastic option if you're loving that like simplicity of the row, but the price point is just too eye-watering. This is a really good option. Another beautiful option that I think she actually wore to her own wedding, or at least some kind of version of this is the Bridal Joy Cotton Blend Maxi Dress. And it's just, this would be so beautiful if you were having like a spring garden wedding. It's 60% cotton, 40% polyester, gorgeous A-line, you know, has a lot more room if you're a little bit wider in the hippie area, but you have a beautiful small waist or a bigger bust where you don't want to go strapless. I think this dress is just really, really beautiful. And I love that she wore basically her own version of this to her own wedding. So she's clearly a fan. And then you guys know me, I love a high neck, I love a sleeve. So again, if you were wanting something kind of similar to the Rose Steffos dress, this is a better priced option. This is the Ilana Ilana dress in white, and it's $375, 60% cotton, 40% polyester, but I just think it's really, really pretty. And I love that you still have a lot of that coverage, but that it is very romantic looking. Also, shout out to the Kaluna dress in white. It's $495, but this is a really great alternative to the Camperette bar dress that I showed you. The slip, in addition to the sheath over top, would probably be a little bit under $2,000. So this one is like a fourth of that. And I think this is a really, really pretty, you've got the organza, you've got the romanticness of the skirt, and then the slip underneath of it. So this is a really good, like well-priced alternative as well. So in full disclosure, this next brand, I have never actually purchased something from. I think that, again, they're an Australian brand. So if you've bought anything from this brand before, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything I need to know around like returns or customer service or just anything like that that could help people out. But just from a design perspective, I was like blown away by the bridal dresses they had, as well as the bridesmaid kind of wedding dresses that they had. This is a brand called Shona Joy, and I think they have so many beautiful things for really great prices. I thought this dress was such a fun combination of like bohemian, but also, You know, it's got the shiny satin, which a lot of times can read more city and uptown. So I've actually never really seen a dress like this. I think it's so cool. It's called the Savannah Tie Maxi Dress in ivory, and it's $420. Again, I've never ordered anything from them, so I can't tell you much about the sizing or stuff, but I think this is a really cool, beautiful dress. This would have been a great one as well for my rehearsal dinner, where it's a little dressed up, but it's still kind of fun. So yeah, if you loved the Row minimal, beautiful slip dress, this is a really great lower priced alternative. This is called the La Lune Low Back Maxi Dress in cream, and it's $520. It is 58% lensing, 42% viscose. Yeah, some type of synthetic, but oh, I think this dress is just really, really beautiful. I love the low back. I also love that they have this little tie silk wrap crop blouse you can put over it. This is $295, and I think it just kind of similar to Cortana, how they add these layers. It just helps you customize the dress a little bit and make it a little more special and kind of spice up the simpleness of that, you know, just silk dress gown, but it, yeah, adds a little more kind of romanticness, and I just think it's really, really pretty. So loved that. And then again, the Row, they've all had these gorgeous kind of strapless dresses, and I apologize because I haven't shown you a ton of strapless dresses because I don't really wear strapless, but I think this dress is so beautiful. I'm also going to talk about this dress when it comes to wedding guests or bridesmaids dresses because I think this is a great option as well. This is the La Lune Strapless Column Maxi Dress, and the cool thing is they have it in a ton of colors. They have it in gold and lemon and blue and powder blue and forest, like really stunning colors. I love the cream obviously for more of a bridal look, but I think this dress looks so chic, so expensive. Ugh, it is like so beautiful. I'm really, really blown away by this company. I think they make really, really pretty stuff. And then the final dresses that I want to call out might be far too casual, but again, if you're just having like a chill beach wedding or you just want more casual pieces, I did want to call out this two beautiful dresses, but I'm going to start with this one from Dish called the Jewel White Linen Midi Dress. This was very similar to the one that I had from Faithful. That was just like a teensy bit off the shoulder. It was also very similar to my mother-in-law's dress that she wore from Totem. So I love the silhouette of this dress. I think it looks really classy and sophisticated. I love that this dress is 100% linen with a lining that's 100% cotton. So considering this dress is $189, 100% linen, 100% cotton, like you cannot lose with this. I think it's so beautiful. This would be a great wedding brunch option or like a wedding shower option as well. But you guys know I love Dish. And then if the Shona Joy dress was a little bit too expensive for you, this one is even less expensive, although I will say it comes in this color called Natural, and it looks like there's a little bit of texture to the gown. So there's one photo where it looks really white, but I do think it's more of like a tan color. So I do just want to call that out that this is not like a white dress. But it's still got that beautiful strapless kind of billowy column shape to it. And this is the Elias Natural Textured Knit Strapless Midi Dress, and it's $189. Oh, I feel like I just ran a marathon. I told you all I have this wealth of knowledge of all these brands and all these dresses, and there's so many incredible things out there. So even though I'm not gonna lie, I felt very defeated at the beginning of this journey trying to find gorgeous, chic, classy, like minimal modern dresses, I think there's actually a lot of good options here. So fear not, all of the brides out there or just shoppers looking for more neutral colors and whatnot. I think there's a good options here. So let me know in the comments below if this was helpful and your experience with any of these brands or just like wedding dress shopping in general. I'm actually really curious to hear kind of your experience with stuff because this was mine. And yeah, I will see you all in my next wedding video.